As this video begins, a title appears. Features we can start using today. The audio description in this video is spoken by Lisa, a computer-generated voice. Two women appear in split screen, each speaking from their home offices. On the right, Arkansas Adult Learning Resource Center Disabilities Coordinator, Wendy Bryant, a black woman with her hair in a bun and wearing geometric glasses and beaded hoop earrings. On the left, CAST Educational Research Scientist, Amanda Bastoni, a white woman with long hair and colorful striped earrings. Now, Amanda.
Hi, Wendy.
Hey, Amanda. I'm really excited about the topic for this video.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of accessibility features that exist in the technology we use every day, and there are easy ways to up your accessibility game by simply turning on these features and trying them out.
You mean like the accessibility features in my phone, right?
Yes. But even programs like Google Docs and Microsoft Word have accessibility built right in. And there are ways we can make sure our PDFs, websites, and videos are accessible. So now we're going to hear from experts who use these features every day. Let's start by hearing from Sam. She's CAST Director of Post-Secondary and Workforce Development.
Text reads. Accessibility options are everywhere. Now, Sam Johnston, Director of Post-Secondary and Workforce Development, CAST, a woman with short blonde hair and a floral blouse, speaks from her home office.
You know, I think when people think about accessibility, they still think it's like some additional special technology that someone's going to bring into a setting. And, you know, it'll be just some dedicated thing for a specific user with some very unique needs. I mean, accessibility is embedded in essentially almost all the software tools we use today. And our job is really just to learn to use those tools well, not just for people who have accessibility needs, but for everybody.
On a tablet, sections of text are enlarged. A cursor enables dictation, and a finger selects accessibility from a menu of settings. Now, National Aim Center, CAST Project Director Cynthia Curry, speaks from her home office.
There are some technologies and features built into technologies that everybody should be aware of and using. So text-to-speech, for example, although it may be most helpful for students who have dyslexia or have need supports with processing information, text-to-speech can be helpful for all students. Speech recognition as well. It could be an alternative for students who are doing a lot of typing. It also can be really helpful for students who are more efficient or more articulate through speaking than they are through writing.
Bridge Multimedia Technical Engineer, Louis Melissi, speaks from his corporate office.
For people who are working with media who want to make their media accessible, there are a couple of big ticket items that you want to have. You have captions, you have audio description, and for PDFs, you need to make sure that the metadata, the information contained within the document, is readable to a screen reader like JAWS.
Sam.
So one thing that's built into the Microsoft Suite, Google Suite, that's right there, if you click on an image, it'll pull up a text box and you can enter in alt text, a text equivalent for visual information. That's so powerful because it allows people to check, did I understand this visual information in the way I was supposed to? And it so happens, it also is essential for someone with a visual impairment that needs a text equivalent to understand visual information.
Text appears. Review your web content. Now, Amanda and Wendy.
So we've heard about some common accessibility features built into tools we use every day. But what do we still need to know about the design of content? By that I mean, like, how do we make sure the materials we choose and create for learners are actually accessible to them?
Good question, Amanda. In this section, we'll learn about accessibility as it relates specifically to websites, which are used for so many purposes in teaching, learning, and career training. And almost all of the accessibility practices for websites apply to creating text documents, like when we use Word or Google Docs.
Let's hear more about it from Lynn, CAST Senior Technologist.
Let's do it.
CAST Senior Technologist, Lynn McCormack, speaks from a conference room.
One of the really important features of a website, and when you're designing it, you've really got to think about what are the capacities of my user. And many people can't actually use a mouse. So you can't use a mouse. Maybe you have some disability that says you can't actually hold something, you can't physically grasp something. And in order to click a mouse, that actually requires quite a bit of motor control. And not everybody has that. So Being able to think about anything that requires clicking, I need to be able to access that using the keyboard. So it's very important to think about that.
New York City teacher for the blind and visually impaired, Yocasta Urenia, speaks from her office.
Some people need sticky keys because they have some kind of physical impairment and would benefit from shortcuts. Also, making sure that anything that's downloadable from your site is actually compatible with some of the major accessibility programs like Zoom and JAWS.
Now, National AIMS Center, CAST, Technical Assistance Specialist, Luis Perez, speaks from his home office.
One of the things that I look for when I visit a website for a new product that I'm considering is, do they have an accessibility statement? Is it easy to find information about accessibility? If there's no information about accessibility, that conveys a message to me. That conveys the message that it's not all that important, or maybe you haven't really thought about it. And that accessibility statement should mention not only the standards that you're aiming to meet when you're doing your accessibility work, but also provide some helpful assistance. What screen readers could I use with your website, with your product? Where can I get more help? That should be really easy to get in touch with someone if you have an accessibility challenge as you're using that website or that product.
Lynn.
And one of the things I see on many sites is that when you tab, that the user doesn't visually know where they are. So that active indicator, I am here, I am on this button, that active indicator is very difficult to see. So you have to make sure that you not only can move from place to place, but you can see where you are as you move from place to place.
Luis.
The other one that's important in terms of navigation is the heading structure. Because most people that use screen readers, they don't read a page from top to bottom, from beginning to end. And a lot of times people think that they're putting in section headings in their documents, in their websites, because they've just selected the text and just made it bigger, made it bold. But that doesn't add the information that makes that heading act like one or act like a landmark for people who navigate using a screen reader.
Text. Accessibility features benefit everyone. Next, Lori Cooney, University of Massachusetts, Boston, Universal Instructional Design Specialist.
If you include these accessible features with alt text and, text to speech and speech to text and turning on closed captioning and using those kinds of resources, that they're not only meeting the needs of that one student that might need an accommodation, but they are meeting the needs of everyone, regardless of their disclosing whether they have a need for an accommodation.
A tablet's accessibility menu lists voiceover, zoom, magnifier, display, and text size, motion, spoken content, and other items. A finger slides a bar, increasing the speaking rate. Cynthia.
Start by exploring the accessibility features that are built into the device that you already use. Whether it's a smartphone, a tablet, a computer, all of these devices now have accessibility built into them. So you can start changing the color contrast, you can have text spoken aloud to you, you can start using your voice to control your device. Once you get comfortable and better understand how these features work, then you may be more prepared to start introducing them to the individuals that you work with, whether they have disabilities or not.
A young woman smiles, using her phone. Text appears. Find out more at aim.cast.org. Logos. CAST. National Center on Accessible Educational Materials. Galdo's Pictures and Bridge Multimedia. Empowering accessibility. Ideas that work. U.S. Office of Special Education Programs. Disclaimer. The contents of this video were developed under a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Education, grant number H327Z190004. However, those contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. Project Officer Rebecca Sheffield, Ph.D.